Watch as we turn this piece into this piece. As with any piece we get, the first thing we do is remove all of the old hardware. This piece on the top, even though while it looks like it's in okay shape, it had lots of scuffs and scrapes on it, and so we're going to need to remove the entire finish on the top to be able to proceed with a nice smooth paint finish. But before we do that, we need to clean it, and we clean with denatured alcohol water mix, and we use the green Scotch-Brite pads to remove any gunk and build up on the piece. And then lastly, we will come in and we will wipe it back with a clean damp rag and we have a nice bucket of water here where we can rinse the rag out. You want to get a nice liberal amount of the cleaning solution on your piece, and also you want to apply a little bit of elbow grease to make sure you break up anything that has been sitting on that dresser for a long time. So you want to make sure you give it a thorough wipe down. Any loose grime or gunk that you broke up with the cleaning, you want to get all of that off so you've got a nice clean surface. And here we are just repeating the steps with the drawers, and the drawers can be a little tricky sometimes because you want to get every little nook and cranny on those drawer fronts. Here I am sanding the top, trying to get that nice smooth finish. We're using a 180 grit here. Not completely necessary to sand it all the way back like this because there were so many just little imperfections on the top, little dings and scratches and scrapes. It just was a little bit quicker than filling all of them. It's just to remove the finish. The ideal here is not to take up all the color of the stain. It's not necessary since we're coming back over with a paint. We just want a nice smooth finish for a primer and a paint to adhere. Here I am using the Surf Prep sander to sand all of the details and the edges. This is a medium 1/2 inch squishy pad. The 1/2 inch squishy pad allows it to conform really well to the edges and get all of the nooks and crannies, so we can get a good scuff sand on this so the paint and primer can have something to adhere to. This is a very versatile tool in our shop and does so many different things, and we have a discount code. We will leave a link in the description for it. So after sanding, we just take a damp microfiber towel and give it one final wipe down to get all the dust and dirt off. So now it's time for my favorite thing, which is filling hardware holes. And we use Bondo to do this. We have an entire video on how to use Bondo, but essentially here we get out the amount that we think we need, and then you add a little bit of the hardener that comes with this to it, mix it up very well, and then we're going to apply it over the hardware holes. And you can see here my hardener is just about out. But you give this a really good mix up here, and you got about 10 minutes to work with it once you apply the hardener. So here I am putting it into the hardware holes that we're going to fill, and you want to make sure you leave it built up just a little bit. This stuff has a tendency to shrink as it dries just a little bit. So if you leave it built up, it can help you not have to go back over it 2 and 3 times. But also you don't want to put way too much on because then you have to come back and sand it all off. One other little tip when it comes to applying Bondo in hardware holes is you want to leave the drawers facing flat down like you saw there, because it will help prevent the Bondo from sinking down into the hole. We are sanding the Bondo back for nice and smooth spots for the hardware holes where they used to be, and this is a 180 grit here. And then I'm going to move over, and since we're just doing a single knob here, I'm just going to measure the distance between the 2 holes, which I think was 2.5 inches. So at 1 1/4 right in the middle, I make a little bitty mark in between the 2 holes, and I am going to drill a hole right in between the 2 for a single knob. And here I am using some what is called tape drape to tape off the drawers. This will expand out to about 48 inches as you pull that plastic away, which we don't need anywhere near that amount here. But this just prevents from any overspray getting on the drawers. You can see I had a little bit of a hard time getting it to tear. Sometimes that blade that is on there is not the best quality, so that one is kind of worn out. If you like what you're seeing here and you want to see more, please subscribe to our channel. There's not too many times where we put the Bondo in the holes and we catch it, we get it perfect on the first time. So we always come back and add just a little wood filler on it. And the reason for the wood filler is it's a little bit quicker, it's a little bit easier to apply. I can just use it with my finger. We don't have to mix a hardener with it, and it dries pretty quick. Next up, it's time to prime, and we use a lot of times Ben's shellac primer, and this is tinted to a light gray. As you can see, it is all over the can there. And this primer is a fantastic primer to block bleed through coming through your paint, and it has great adhesion, and it's very easy to work with, and sprays good, sands beautifully, and it's one of our primer of choices on a regular basis. And if you don't have a sprayer here, this primer will roll and brush just fine as well, but we're going to use our spray equipment because that's what we have. And if you go back and watch one of our previous videos, you'll see our shop tour video, and one of the big deals with the shop tour was this 10x10 spray booth that we put in. You can see the exhaust fan in there, but this allows us to keep all of the spray, all of the dust into one confined area there, and that exhaust fan will pull all of the overspray out. And here I am, just like I did with the drawers, spraying the Ben's shellac primer. And the color of choice today is General Finish's milk paint in the color basil. You want to make sure you stir these very well as the pigments settle, as they have been sitting on the shelf. We always add about 10 to 20% water to our paint when we're going to spray it. This is not necessary for brushing or rolling, but to spray well, we need to thin it out some. And before we go to spray, we use a Surf Prep rad pad here to just sand the primer back nice and smooth. And again, this Ben's shellac primer sands very, very well, very, very quickly. So we will just cover the whole piece and then wipe down any of the dust that was created from the sanding and get it ready to spray. And here you can see the basil color going on and how easy this sprays. You can see how quick I'm able to come back and forth here. And because we used a gray tinted primer and not just a white primer, we will get this covered in really probably one coat, but we will definitely go over it 2 times to just make sure that there is nothing that we missed. And again, if you want to create a smooth finish, whether you're brushing and rolling or spraying, you always want to sand in between coats. It is just such a very important step to getting a very, very fine finish. A lot of people overlook it, but it is very important. Here we are applying our sealer here, and this is General Finish's high performance top coat in a satin sheen. This stuff brushes and rolls beautifully too. It levels out very well, but we are spraying it here, and you can definitely spray or brush and roll this product. We ended up applying 3 coats of General Finish's high performance top coat here per the manufacturer's recommendation. We always like to follow what they tell you to do, and so you give it about 2 hours to dry in between each coat, and it is ready to go. And here we are at one of the final stages, which is putting on the new hardware. We bought this hardware off Amazon. I will put a link in the description for it, so you can go and find it for yourself. And now we're going to be moving it over to the staging wall, getting ready to take photos of it and getting it listed for sale. And when it gets time to lift it and move it into place, we always bring in the muscle to help as my wife comes in to get it all ready to go. But she also does all of the staging and makes it look so good for the photos. And she just does a fantastic job with that. And here she is kind of doing her thing, which is getting the stuff on it and gonna take nice and pretty photos of it. And here it is, all finished, staged, and ready and up for sale. If you have any questions about the process that we used here, please ask them in the comments below. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button.